And now for my final list of the year. This is my list for my top 10 favorite films of 2017. A large number of films came out this year, and a number of them that I wanted to see, I unfortunately didn't get to. These include The Big Sick, Lady Bird, Shape of Water, Call Me By Your Name, Good Time, and The Florida Project, among others. I will probably see some of these films later on, and when I do, I will append this list. But until then, here is my list for my top 10 favorite films of 2017. Number 10, It Comes at Night. This was a rather divisive film. A lot of people didn't like it because it didn't involve some of the traditional horror motifs, and a lot of people felt like the trailers gave false advertising. Me personally, though, I was intrigued by the trailers because I kind of got from that this was more of a psychological horror. And I really enjoyed the movie because it is an atmospheric horror. It is metaphorical. It's playing off of our fear of the unknown. And what I love about it is the fact that we as the audience, we're kept in the dark as much as the main characters. We don't know anything about this disease that's affecting everyone, and we don't know the true intentions or the condition of the family that the main characters come across. I think it's brilliant filmmaking. Number 9, All the Money in the World. I was going to talk a bit more about the controversy surrounding this film and the choice to replace Spacey with Christopher Plummer and how that benefited the film, but instead, what I just want to say is, considering that Ridley Scott decided to keep his original release date, and he filmed these reshoots in 9 days. It really says something to the dedication of the filmmakers, the director, the actors, and everyone else involved. And it really came out seamless. Standout performances from everyone. Christopher Plummer, Michelle Williams, and Mark Wahlberg, were all excellent in this film. The movie itself, it starts out kind of slow and then gradually picks up throughout the course of the film. And afterwards, I realized we start out with the initial kidnapping of this kid, and as we move along, we see the anxiety and the desperation grow in these characters. The kidnappers, the mother, and J. Paul Getty. And I realized the movie is actually keeping in tone with the emotions of the characters. It was really well done, and it's an all-in-all great film. Number 8, Coco. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Coco single-handedly saved animated films for 2017. It's a wonderful homage to a part of Mexican culture, and I think they actually did a really good job of explaining why this is so important to so many people. There really isn't much else that I can say that I haven't already said. The animation is gorgeous, it's beautiful to look at, it's colorful, it's vibrant. The world of the dead is wonderfully inventive. And I know there's been some controversy about the similarities of this film to the Book of Life. But I can say this, I have not seen the Book of Life, so I can't actually compare the two. All I can say is that I thought Coco was a wonderful film. I absolutely loved it, and I honestly think it's my favorite Pixar film in a while. Number 7, The Disaster Artist. Okay, seriously, if you haven't seen The Room yet, go watch it. You are really missing out on something great. Unlike The Room, though, which is great because it's bad, The Disaster Artist is great because it's great. It's a look into the real-life creation of The Room, but it's more than that. It's about the relationship between these two guys, Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero, and about how their relationship brought about the making of The Room. But it also delves into the mind of Tommy Wiseau, who wrote, directed, starred, and produced the movie. And it presents it in a very realistic and dramatic sense. It's got its humor, but it's also got its sympathetic side. So we can empathize with Tommy Wiseau when we need to. At the same time, we can empathize with everyone else who worked on the film and understand why this guy was so hard to work with and why the movie itself turned out to be, as the title suggests, a disaster. Number 6, Only the Brave. This is a true story about the Granite Mountain Hotshots, a group of municipal firefighters who were the first of their kind to obtain hotshot status. All but one of their members tragically perished in the Yarnell Hill fire in 2013. Now, this movie didn't do well financially, and I understand why. It puts a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths to have a movie get released after so short a time after the incident took place. Nevertheless, I still think this movie was a wonderful tribute to those brave firefighters. It looks at not just the Yarnell Hill fire, but the professional and personal lives of these people as they obtain hotshot status, and then working through the different fires during that time until ultimately leading to the final tragic event that occurred. It mainly focuses on the chief of the firefighters, played by Josh Brolin, and then the sole survivor, the newcomer Brendan, played by Miles Teller. Despite people's reservations, I do think this was a terrific film, and there's a wonderful tribute to all 20 firefighters at the very end. Number 5, Gifted. This, to me, was one of this year's most underrated films. I really loved this movie. I thought it was a really well-written movie. It had a wonderful blend of comedy and drama, and the emotional moments in this film really got me to cry hard, as in tears flowing down my face. The performances by Chris Evans, Jenny Slate, Octavia Spencer, and McKenna Grace really got the tears flowing. And the movie did a great job of focusing on the characters, their interactions, their stories, without focusing so much on the math. There was enough dialogue to explain the math so that it could make sense without it being a distraction from the rest of the film. Number 4, Logan. This is arguably one of the best, if not the best, X-Men films to have been released, though I'm leaning more towards Deadpool. This film is proof that film studios should not be afraid to take chances. It's bleak, but it's also hopeful. The R rating this film received allowed them to remove those restrictions that would allow the filmmakers to respect these characters and really give them something to fight for. It doesn't pull any punches. They could have gone a safer, more cliched route, but they didn't. They took risks, and those risks paid off in spades. We have some great powerhouse performances from some Hollywood greats and newcomers, and it's a fitting end to the Hugh Jackman role, which will likely never be matched by anyone else. Number 3, War for the Planet of the Apes. The third entry in the Apes reboot franchise, and in my opinion, this is the best film in the trilogy. It is compelling, it's powerful, it's emotional. They did a really, really good job of showing this psychological warfare between the apes that are just battling for survival and the humans whose paranoia has reached a new high thanks in part to this mysterious disease that's affecting everyone. Andy Serkis continues to give amazing motion capture performances. Woody Harrelson, as always, I just love watching him every time he's on screen. And Steve Zahn gave a surprisingly good performance in this. He plays this chimp that managed to survive on his own, and he wound up being a really, really likable character. And the way this ended, if this does turn out to be the ending to this franchise, I would say they definitely ended it on a high note. But you never know. Number 2, Blade Runner 2049. I don't want to go so far as to say that this film is underrated. It's not. It was well received both critically and by audiences. It didn't flop at the box office, but it did underperform. It made about $260 million on a budget of $150 million, which in movie terms is not great. Which is unfortunate, because this is the kind of film that we go, or this is the kind of film we go to the movies to see. It is a true cinematic experience. To be mesmerized by the sounds and engrossed in the visuals while watching this compelling story with great characters and great writing. Denis Villeneuve has woven this intricate and yet well-balanced masterpiece that stands on its own despite the fact that it is a sequel. The cinematography by Roger Deakins is unmatched by any other film this year. The only real complaints with the film are that it's overly long and the pacing is kind of slow, and I honestly believe that those are the main reasons most people stayed away from this movie, which is really unfortunate because this is a spectacular movie that people are missing. Before I get to my top pick, I wanted to go over some honorable mentions that are great movies but didn't quite make the list. They are, in alphabetical order, American Made. A great story with a great performance by Tom Cruise. Just hope you're not sitting next to anyone who has a tendency to blurt out the painfully obvious. Baby Driver. An entertaining film with some great music and great car chases. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. A fun and entertaining follow-up to the original flick. Mother! One of the most controversial and divisive movies ever made, but definitely one worth talking about. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. A definite Oscar contender with a great cast and some great characters. And finally, Wind River. An intriguing murder mystery dealing with the issue of sexual assault on Indian reservations. And my number 1 favorite film of 2017 is Dunkirk. My favorite film of the year comes from my favorite filmmaker. I want to start off by saying that if I were to rank the Chris Nolan films, I would put this one as third. The main reason is because there weren't any compelling characters in this movie. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't notice it and it didn't bother me a little. But I wanted to get that out of the way because I also wanted to say that that's not the point of the movie. It's about the experience of war. During this time, there were hundreds of thousands of people on this beach, surrounded by the enemy, just waiting for them to march and attack. It was a terrifying time for them, not knowing if they were going to escape, and this movie is presenting that experience. All the actors do a great job. Mark Rylance, Cillian Murphy, Tom Hardy, Kenneth Branagh, Fionn Whitehead, they all do a great job, but again, it's not about the characters. Everything from the acting to the cinematography and the score and the sound design, the battle choreography, even the editing and the way it's put together, all is masterfully connected and intertwined to present such a realistic and unforgettable experience. And that's my list. If you like this video, please like. And please comment below. Let me know what your favorite movies of 2017 were. And here's hoping for a great year of film in 2018.